Hi, I'm Bonnie Kemke. Welcome to my studio and welcome to Quilting on a Thread. Today I want to do a video on installing the channel locks for the Cutie Breeze. So this package has just come to me. Let me just go ahead and open this box up and let's see what's inside. Alright, so the first thing you see is a piece of foam. So I'll pull out a bag. This is just hardware. So this is the screws and stuff. And I pull out, this is the dual wheel channel lock. This would be the channel lock that you would use if you have a Unique machine. So then there's a channel lock for the top plate. This goes on the chariot carriage. And then you have one for the bottom carriage. The last thing in the box are the instructions. All right, so I have read the instructions, the installation manual very thoroughly. I've actually read it twice. I read it first once just for, hey, what's in there? And then the second time I read it is for taking the parts out, inventorying them, and deciding whether I understand which pieces go with which items, to make sure that I am not confused when I'm pairing them up later. So let's go through the inventory. So the first thing in the inventory, in the included parts and tools list, is the bottom carriage lock. I've opened the bag, but I have not taken the carriage lock out. The second thing is the top plate channel lock. I've again opened the bag, but I haven't taken anything out. The third item is the dual wheel channel lock. I've opened the bag, but I'm actually not going to be using this item, so I'm going to set it back a little bit out of my way. I'm not going to be using that because that goes on the Unique machine. The instructions to install it on the Unique machine are in this manual. They're very thorough. One of the things to keep in mind if you're installing this on a Unique machine is you will be using a different screw on the wheel than is currently installed. So the channel locks were all individually packaged in the box. All the rest of the items, the remaining items that I'm going to go through, were all in that one sealable bag. I've opened that bag up, but I've kept all of the parts in their individual bags. So the first thing that was in that bag, and that is listed in our parts and tools inventory, is the SBHCS M6 20mm screw. This is the screw that you would likely use to install the dual wheel channel lock to your Unique machine. The next item is a package containing SBHCS M5 12mm screws, and there are two of them. So it says in parentheses ×2. That means there are two in there. We'll set this back there. The third item from the plastic bag is SBHCS 5M by 8mm, and this screw also is a package of two. The next thing that I removed from that plastic bag is the flanged SBHCS M4 10mm screw, and again there are two in this bag. Then we have a 4mm wrench. Now I've cut the bag over that I remember this is the 4mm wrench. Then there is an Allen wrench 3mm, again cut the bag open but left the Allen wrench in there. And then the third Allen wrench is the Allen wrench 2.5mm. I've cut that bag open and left that in there. So the final thing in the plastic bag that I pulled out is a open-end 7mm wrench. This is golden. Don't lose this wrench at all, because this wrench you can use to adjust the stopper on, the channel lock stopper on your frame, but also you need a 7mm wrench to adjust the height of your tension discs on your little Rebel bobbin winder. If you ever have an issue where you're coning your bobbins when you're filling. So this wrench is a tool that you do not ever want to lose. So the next thing to note, and it is in the manual, you cannot install these channel locks without taking your machine off of your frame. So the instructions do tell you to be aware that based on your machine, either side A or side B is the front of your carriage. When I took my little Rebel off, I just went ahead and used a black permanent marker and wrote front for little Rebel. And a little marking does not hurt. Now, the document also points out that you might have holes in the front of your carriage. That would be the case, excuse me, if you have a newer frame. I have found that for both the upper and lower channel locks, the nuts that determine how far the boot or the shoe extends were very tight. They were almost impossible to loosen while the channel locks were on the carriages. So I would advise you to loosen these nuts before installing the channel locks on your carriages. The nut closest to the boot controls how far the boot or the shoe extends from the toggle clamp. The nut on the opposite side of the toggle clamp locks the screw within the toggle clamp, thus holding the boot in place. Together, these nuts set the length of the screw holding the boot in place, and this will control how well your channel lock will stop your carriage. So if you are lucky enough to have the holes, then you would take your you'll take your bottom channel lock and you'll put it on, and you'll notice on your channel lock that there are 2 holes. Those would line up with holes that might be in your ladder production frame. I have one of the earliest production. In fact, this is really pre-production because my frame was from the beta testing. So I don't have those holes. So there are also these 2 holes. No matter whether you have a ladder production and holes there or not, these 2 holes will be used by the plastic tipped screws. Those will go in there. They're plastic tipped so that they will grab into the frame using the plastic, and so it'll create that glue, if you will, plastic to metal. Plastic to metal doesn't move much, and so that's why you use those on the outside. If you have holes, you will also, so you will always use those plastic tipped. If you have the holes, you will line the holes up with this, and you will use the flanged M4 10mm screws to go in those holes from the back of the frame side into this. So you want to center this on the front brace of your lower carriage. It's going to be easier to do that by turning the carriage upside down. Be careful not to damage the tracks. So turn the carriage upside down and drop that in place as centered as you can get it. If you have holes, go ahead and open up the flanged M4 10mm screws and put those in the holes through the brace into the holes of your channel lock. I don't have holes, and I'm thinking that there's quite a number of you out there that don't. Remember not to tighten these too much because you want to be able to adjust your channel lock and then tighten them, so roll it back over. One of the things you want to be aware of when you're adjusting the boot of this channel lock, the foot that sits down on the track, is that you don't want that when you engage the channel lock that the frame is being raised up. So you want this tight enough that it doesn't raise it. A good thing then is to go ahead and leave that channel lock in place so that you have something fixed, not moving on you while you're adjusting the other one. So I very carefully brought my upper carriage, that's the chariot carriage, over here, and I've balanced it on top of the rails of my lower carriage, just so I can get to it. So here on the upper plate, you're going to be using the upper channel lock. We've already loosened the boot so that that moves around a little bit. We're going to install it in these front 3 holes, but you're really going to be screwing into hole 1 and 3, with 2 being empty. So you can just ease that into place and line up the holes. Then, holding that in place, take one of your M5 12mm screws and tighten it finger tight. Don't go too far because you want to get the other screw in place. So get that screw in there and just kind of, like I said, finger tight. You're going to feel some resistance because the raised areas off the back, those are locking nuts. So you're going to feel some resistance. So once we have that almost in, or almost tight, however you want to say that, get over here and mount your carriage on the lower carriage. Make sure it's on there and rotating freely. Now go ahead and see about engaging your boot. So you can see when we engage it that it's not quite catching, so that's okay. We want to loosen things up and tighten that lower nut up to the toggle, and just keep playing with that until we get it. So we think we've got it close. And it's still a little too loose. Right now I'm doing everything finger tight. When I get it where I think it's good, I'll use that 7mm Allen wrench and tighten it down. Now that's good. See how it won't let me move? So now we get that 7mm, I said Allen wrench, but I mean open wrench, and tighten everything down. So after you're satisfied that your channel lock on your upper plate is working well, go ahead and tighten these nuts, these screws on the carriage as much as you can. It's just important to make sure that they're tight. So now that everything's put back together, right now everything moves freely. If I engage the front channel lock, I can no longer move right to left. Disengage that. Engage the side channel lock. I can no longer move front to back, but I can still move side to side. If I engage both of them, everything is stable, and this is a great way to do maintenance on your machine. It's not moving around on you. But once again, if I disengage the side, I can move front to back, but I can't move side to side. The channel locks are a great feature if it's something that you want to invest in. So I hope that this installation video helps you on your journey, and hope to see you again here on Quilting on a Thread. Bye-bye now.